My hands shook as I deleted the voicemail, Tyler's voice still raw in my ears. "I need to see you now." Jimmy stood at the stove, humming our wedding song, oblivious to the life festering in my palm. 3 months ago, I would have laughed if you had told me I would risk everything for a man whose last name I didn't even know. But here I was, a sinner in an apron, starving for a love that wasn't mine. Before I unravel this mess, I want to thank every single one of you, new faces and OG subscribers, for being here. Your support fuels this channel. If you haven't hit subscribe yet, do it now. Trust me, you'll want to stay for what comes next. Drop a comment below. Could you walk away from a love that lit you up, even if it burned the world down? Let's chat. I am Brenda Hartman, 41, floral print mom, jeans enthusiast, and certified people pleaser. Jimmy, my husband of 17 years, is the kind of man who unclogs drains without complaining and remembers to refill the Brita. Stable, dependable, boring. Our marriage wasn't always cold, but somewhere between his late nights at the architecture firm and my PDA meetings, we became roommates who occasionally had sex out of obligation. Then came Tyler. I met him at Liberty Fitness, that overpriced gym off Maple Avenue. He was leaning against the ellipticals, all tousled dark hair and scarred knuckles, reading Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five. I tripped over my own water bottle staring at him. "Need a spotter?" he had asked, smirking. His voice was gravel wrapped in velvet. "Just my dignity," I laughed, face flaming. We talked books, then life, then regrets. He was 34, a freelance photographer, new to town. No wedding ring, no Instagram, no answers when I asked why he had moved here. Running from ghosts, he said, eyes shadowed. It should have been a red flag. Instead, it felt like a mirror. Jimmy forgot our anniversary that week. Again. I sat at our granite island, picking at supermarket sushi, when my phone buzzed. "Tyler, you ever read Bukowski? Find what you love and let it kill you." Me. Depressing much? Tyler, nah. Liberating. Most people are already dead, they just haven't stopped breathing. We met for coffee. Just coffee. But when his knee brushed mine under the table, I felt it everywhere, a lightning strike to a parched forest. He told me about his ex, a dancer who had left him for a billionaire. She said I was too much, he said, bitterness twisting his mouth. "But you? You're starving, Brenda. I can see it." Starving? For someone to look at you like you're the main course. The words undid me. Jimmy hadn't looked at me that way in years. It rained the day everything shifted. Tyler bumped into me at the grocery store, drenched from his jog. "Need help?" He nodded at my cart. We laughed over expired coupons in aisle 3. When he reached past me for a cereal box, his damp shirt brushed my arm. I stopped breathing. "You're trembling," he murmured. "I am fine." Liar. His thumb grazed my wrist. "Meet me tonight. 8 p.m. Cedar Park." "I can't." "You will." I went. Under the oak tree where Jimmy proposed, Tyler kissed me, and God help me, I kissed back, fervent, furious, a woman resurrected. When his hand slid under my sweater, I didn't stop him. Guilt came later, sticky and slick as the sweat on my skin. But guilt, I learned, is quieter than hunger. The first time I lied to Jimmy's face, I told myself it was harmless. "Book club ran late," I said, avoiding his eyes as I hung my rain-speckled coat by the door. He nodded, flipping a page of his architectural digest, and asked if the ladies liked the Chardonnay he had picked. My throat tightened. They loved it. Tyler had parked 2 blocks from our house that night, his truck idling in the dark like a promise. "You're playing with fire, Brenda," he had said, tracing the edge of my jaw with his knuckles. I didn't care. For the first time in a decade, I felt alive. I became a cliché. Gym sessions tripled, errands that bled into hours, perfume scrubbed off my neck in gas station bathrooms. Tyler was relentless. He would text me verses from Pablo Neruda. I want to do with you what spring does with the cherry trees, while Jimmy packed lunches for our daughters, Emily and Grace, their giggles echoing down the hall. Guilt gnawed at me, but it was no match for the way Tyler looked at me in the dim light of the Sunrise Motel, room 12. Our room. He would book it every Thursday, cash only, no questions. Why this place? I asked once, gesturing at the peeling wallpaper, the hum of the highway outside. He smirked, pouring cheap champagne into plastic cups. No one finds what they're not looking for. Jimmy noticed. Of course he noticed. He didn't confront me. Jimmy never confronted, but I caught him studying me over his coffee mug, his brow furrowed. One night, he reached for me in bed, calloused hands tentative on my hip. You feel different, he murmured. I froze. Different how? Like you're halfway out the door already. I turned to face him, my lie smooth as silk. We're just in a rut, Jim. Well, fix it. He believed me. That's the worst part. Tyler hated talking about the past, but fragments slipped out. His father was a long-haul trucker. His mother died when he was 9. Ovarian cancer, he said flatly, lighting a cigarette by the motel window. She begged me to steal morphine from the hospital. I got caught. How old were you? 12. He blew out a plume of smoke, his face hard. You learn fast who you can trust. I should have asked more questions. Instead, I kissed the scar on his collarbone, the one he said came from a bar fight in Tulsa. In April, Emily caught strep throat. I canceled a Thursday with Tyler to stay home, reading Charlotte's Web to her while she dozed against my shoulder. Tyler's texts buzzed like wasps in my purse. You blowing me off? Answer me. Don't make me come there. Panic clawed up my throat. I deleted the messages, but Jimmy saw my hands shaking. You okay? He asked, handing me a mug of tea. Just tired. He hesitated. You know you can talk to me, right? I almost broke then. Almost confessed. But the next morning, Tyler was waiting outside the school drop-off line, leaning against his truck with a single red rose. I am sorry, he said, pressing it into my hand. I get. Scared you'll leave. I melted. Idiot. Things unraveled faster after that. During a shopping trip, Tyler took me to an abandoned railroad bridge, the wood creaking under our feet. He shot portraits of me, his camera clicking like a heartbeat. Look at you, he breathed, zooming in on my lips. You're a goddamn masterpiece. Later, he emailed the photos. I deleted them immediately, except one. My face tilted toward the sun, hair wild, a smile I didn't recognize. I saved it to a hidden folder labeled tax documents. 2 days later, Jimmy used my laptop to print a recipe. Since when do you like noir photography? He asked casually, nodding at the screen. The air left the room. Oh, that's a class I am thinking of taking. He stared at the photo, at me, then closed the laptop. Cool. He never mentioned it again. That Friday, Tyler begged me to leave Jimmy. Well, go to Mexico, he said, lips against my temple as we stood in a home goods parking lot. Live on cash. No more hiding. I have kids, I hissed. So did my mom. Didn't stop her from. A car honked. We jerked apart. My phone rang as I sped home. It was Tyler. I silenced it. When I walked in, Jimmy was at the table, Emily's spelling test in one hand, a printed photo in the other. My photo. He didn't yell. Didn't cry. Just slid it toward me, his voice hollow. Who is he, Bren? Jimmy's question hung in the air like a guillotine. Who is he, Bren? I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. The photo of me on the railroad bridge, vibrant, alive, taunted us both from the table. It's not what you think, I finally whispered. Really? His laugh was brittle. Because it looks like you're in love with someone else. He didn't sleep in our bed that night. I heard him pacing the living room, the soft clink of whiskey glasses. At dawn, I found him at the kitchen island, the photo replaced by a crumpled receipt from Liberty Fitness. December 12th, guest pass, Tyler Cole. You've been paying for his gym membership? Jimmy's voice was eerily calm. It's just, he's a friend. He needed help. Stop. He slammed his palm on the counter. I called the motel, Brenda. Sunrise Motel. They said you've been there every Thursday for 2 months. My legs buckled. Jimmy, please. The girls can't see you like this. He stood, keys in hand. I am taking them to my mom's. I drove to Tyler's apartment, a crumbling complex north of a highway. He answered the door shirtless, a cigarette dangling from his lips. You look like hell, princess. Jimmy knows. He raised an eyebrow, pulling me inside. The room reeked of weed and ambition, cameras and cash strewn across the scarred table. So? He shrugged. You wanted out anyway. I never said that. You didn't have to. He grabbed my waist, his grip possessive. You think I don't know you're bored? That you ache for someone to see you? I pushed him away. This was a mistake. Too late. His smile turned icy. You don't get to walk away, Brenda, not yet. Back home, Jimmy had left a note. We need to talk. 7 p.m. I rifled through drawers, desperate for clues about what he knew. That's when I found it. The receipt from the Sunrise Motel, dated the night of Emila's school play. Room 12. $59.99. Paid in cash. Except I hadn't paid. Tyler had. My stomach churned. Why would he keep a receipt? At 7 p.m., Jimmy arrived with divorce papers. Sign them and we'll split custody clean. You're kicking me out? My voice cracked. You kicked us out first. He slid the papers forward. But if you fight me, it'll show the court everything. The motel receipts. The photo. Texts from Tyler Cole. Cole. The name clicked. Jimmy's face paled as I gasped. You know his last name? I whispered. How? He hesitated. He applied to my firm last month. For a photography gig. His resume listed a reference from her. Who? Lena. The room spun. Lena. His ex-fiancée, who had left him a week before their wedding. The one he never talked about. Tyler is her brother, Jimmy said quietly. He blames me for her overdose. This was never about you, Brenda. It's revenge. I found Tyler at the railroad bridge, his camera aimed at the sunset. You used me, I spat. He turned, smirk intact. Took you long enough. Was any of it real? The sex? Yeah. The rest? He lit a cigarette. Lena was my baby sister. Jimmy promised her forever, then ghosted. She swallowed a bottle of pills 6 years ago. So, yeah, I enjoyed ruining his perfect little wife. I lunged at him, fists flying. He caught my wrists, laughing. You think you're the victim? You chose this. You're just as guilty as he is. That night, I stared at the divorce papers, Tyler's words echoing. You're just as guilty. Jimmy's key turned in the lock. He froze when he saw me. Sign them, Brenda. What if I fix this? My tears splattered the table. What if I make him pay? How? Tyler's got secrets. If I get proof, if I expose him. Jimmy's eyes narrowed. Why would you do that? Because I love you. The truth, sharp and sudden. He flinched. It's too late. No. I stood. The receipt crumpled in my fist. I will bring you his head. Then you'll see. I texted Tyler. Meet me at the motel. I am done hiding. He replied instantly. Knew you would cave. But as I drove, Jimmy's warning rang in my ears. You're playing a dangerous game. I wasn't playing anymore. I was ending it. The motel parking lot was slick with rain, the neon sunrise sign flickering like a dying pulse. Tyler's truck idled in the shadows of room 12. I clutched my phone, the recording app open, and prayed he wouldn't hear the tremor in my voice. He opened the door before I knocked, shirtless, a bottle of bourbon in hand. "Miss me? We need to talk." I stepped inside, the smell of him, cigarettes and recklessness, hitting me like a slap. "Talk." He kicked the door shut. "Or beg." I kept my hand steady, the phone hidden in my sweater pocket. "Why would you really come here, Tyler? Was any of it real? Or was I just a pawn?" He poured a drink, his smirk sharp. "You think you're special? You're wife number 3.
What?
Jimmy's not the first guy I've burned." He leaned against the wall, camera dangling from his neck. "Lena wasn't my sister. She was my wife." The room tilted. "But Jimmy said," "Jimmy's a liar." He tossed back the bourbon. "He didn't just leave Lena. He stole her clients, tanked her career. She killed herself because of him." "So you seduce the wives?" "Wives. Girlfriends. Ruin their lives. Then send the evidence." He flicked open his laptop, a folder titled Brenda filled with photos, videos, receipts. "Yours is my best work yet." I lunged for the laptop. He yanked it away, grabbing my wrist. "Touch it and these go viral. Your kid's school. Jimmy's firm. TMZ. You're sick. You're complicit." He shoved me onto the bed. "You think Jimmy's some saint? Ask him about the $200,000 he embezzled from Lena's charity." My breath stalled. "You're lying. Check his office safe. Combination is your anniversary pathetic." I raced home, Tyler's laughter ringing in my ears. Jimmy's safe was hidden behind his golf trophies. My hands shook as I spun the dial. 10-07. The door clicked open. Inside, stacks of cash, a burner phone, and a file labeled Lena Marino, settlement. "Looking for something?" I whirled. Jimmy stood in the doorway, face ashen. "Is it true?" I waved the file. "Did you steal from her?" "It's not that simple."
Did you?
"She was unstable." He snapped. "The money was gone before You destroyed her. And you destroyed us." He stepped closer. "But I am not the villain here, Bren. You chose him." Tyler's text buzzed. "TikTok princess. Your video's trending by dawn." I met him at the railroad bridge, the wind howling through the rotting planks. "Delete it," I demanded. "Or what?" He grinned, camera raised. "Smile for the camera, Brenda." I charged him. We crashed into the railing, wood splintering. His grip slipped, and for a heartbeat, he hung over the abyss, fingers clawing at my arm. "Pull me up," he screamed. Below, the river churned, black and hungry. "Brenda."
Please.
I hesitated, then let go. His body vanished into the dark. I collapsed, gasping, until headlights cut through the fog. Jimmy sprinted toward me, eyes wild. "Where is he?"
Gone.
He stared at the broken railing, then at me. "What did you do?" "What you couldn't." I stood, blood dripping from my palms. "Now fix the rest." Police found Tyler's truck abandoned, his camera in the river. "No body, no crime," the detective said. Jimmy paid cash to repair the bridge, his embezzlement buried with Lena's file.
We didn't speak of it.
Not when the girls came home. Not when we signed the divorce papers. Not when he hugged me goodbye, whispering, "I loved you once." But that night, I dreamt of Tyler's laugh echoing from the river, his final vow clinging to my skin like rot. "You'll never be free." The divorce finalized on a Tuesday. Jimmy got the house. I got a studio apartment above a nail salon that reeked of acetone and regret. The girls wrote me letters. "Why did you leave us?" in looping, wobbly cursive. I framed them, but never replied. What could I say? Mommy let the devil kiss her, and now he lives in her bones? I saw Tyler everywhere. In the hiss of a coffee machine, the glint of a camera lens, the laughter of men in parking lots. At night, I would jolt awake, convinced his hands were around my throat. But the river never gave him back. Jimmy moved on fast. 6 months later, he married Clara, Emily's piano teacher, a doe-eyed widow who baked casseroles and just adores the girls. At the custody hearing, Emily refused to hug me. "You broke Dad," she hissed. Grace just stared at her shoes. The town broke me harder. Grocery store whispers. Moms crossing the street to avoid me. My old book club sent a thinking of you card, addressed to Mrs. Cole. I tried to disappear. Changed my name. Dyed my hair black. Worked graveyard shifts at a 24-hour diner off Route 9. But on my 43rd birthday, the past clawed back. A man slid into my booth, reeking of bourbon and brute. Brenda Hartman. Don't know her. He dropped a photo on the table, Tyler and me, tangled in motel sheets. His camera. His angle.
Who are you?
I whispered. Tyler's business partner. He owed me money. His grin revealed a gold tooth. But you'll do. $10,000.
Cash.
By Friday. Or the whole town gets the show, Goldtooth sneered, pocketing the photo. I pawned my engagement ring, sold my car, and begged Clara to lend me the rest. She hung up crying. Jimmy showed up at the diner, fury in his polished shoes. You drag us into this again, and it'll take the girls forever. I'm trying to protect them. You don't get to protect anyone. He dropped a check on the table. Last favor. The amount, $10,000. The memo, for their sake. I met Goldtooth at the railroad bridge at midnight. He counted the cash, smirked, and tossed the photo into the river. Pleasure doing business.
Wait.
I gripped my keys like a weapon. How many copies are there? He laughed. How many motel rooms did you fuck him in? The answer came weeks later. A TikTok video. Grainy footage of Tyler and me in room 12. Millions of views. Hashtag cheating wife trended. My diner fired me. My landlord evicted me. Jimmy's lawyer called. Custody revoked. Supervised visits only. I drove to the river that night, Tyler's voice in my head. You'll never be free. The water was colder than I remembered. I waded in, stones cutting my feet, until the current tugged at my hips. Just a little farther. Then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered, trembling.
Mom?
Grace's voice.
Small.
Scared. Clara said you're sick. Are you gonna die? I collapsed onto the bank, sobbing. No, baby. Not today. I rent a room in a silent widow's house now. She doesn't ask questions. On good days, I volunteer at the animal shelter. On bad ones, I trace Tyler's name in the dirt like a curse. Sometimes, I swear I see him, across the street, in a passing truck, his laugh carried by the wind. Maybe he's alive. Maybe I am mad. But last week, a package arrived. No return address. Inside, a single rose and a note. Starving looks good on you.
Tea.
I burned it. The ashes still smell like him. End of story. To the viewers who stayed until the end, thank you. This story was a raw one, but your support kept me honest. If it gripped you, please hit like, share with someone who needs a cautionary tale, and subscribe. The algorithm demons demand it. Drop a comment. Could you walk away from a toxic love? Or would it destroy you? Let's vent. For everyone still hitting that notification bell, you're my lifeline. Until next time, stay fierce. And remember, not all ghosts stay buried.